Welcome back to Entrepreneurs Lounge. Now, my next guest, Mengo Sherastine, will teach you, or rather his business will teach you everything you need to know about managing your brand through he's a CEO or founder of Mengo Concepts. You're very welcome to the show, Mengo.
Thanks for having me.
So what's your story? Apparently you can teach me how to brand myself, how to make myself more sellable, how to turn myself into a household name. I'd like to hear the story.
Yes, I can help you do all those things, but I would only do it if you wanted it. Right. I mean, well, a little bit about my story. I was trained to be an engineer. I went to school to be an aeronautical engineer, but only to realize later that it was not a good fit for me. And a clinical psychology evidence shows that good engineers they seem to like things more than they seem more interested in things than they're interested in people. So after finishing, I realized, oh, I'm not interested in things. I am more interested in people. So what do? I have to set myself up for opportunities or for positions that put me where I'm able to meet people, I'm able to work with people more closely. So this is how I set myself up for marketing, for sales, for customer-facing roles. And slowly, as I was working through things, the idea of personal branding was born. I said, there's so many people doing corporate branding out here, so many people doing other forms of branding, but I said, I don't see many professionals doing personal branding. Not many of them are actually, when you look at a company, I go and look at the head. How can I help you put your dreams before people? Because you're the vision bearer of your company. You know the values of your company. You are the one who knows where you want to take it. So that is the direction I decided to take. So that's how I landed in personal branding, and I hope to stay there for the longest time.
So I like what you just mentioned, that you decided, a lot of people have gone into corporate,
yes,
branding. You decided to take that personal approach to it. And you mentioned, for example, a leader of an organization, you just give them all the information they need to know in how to carry themselves, how to do their job. But what about in an area or a field, for example, in the entertainment business, where people need, which is a bit different from the corporate side? Do you also venture into that side, and how does that work?
I have not really looked at entertainment because I think most record labels do a good job at that. But I looked at the corporate arena because it has been ignored a lot more in terms of personal branding. Secondly, I also look at politics. It's something I'm really interested in because I see our politics is unguided. Our politicians don't know how to carry themselves. I don't want to start mentioning the things that we see on TV every day. This is because they are not working with professionals who can show them how to carry themselves, what to say. Most of them are bad at public speaking, and they speak in public every other week. So who is this person that is working with them? Who is teaching them how to carry themselves, how to dress? Because it's two things actually. Personal branding, first of all, is perception. It's all perception. How are you perceived?
Right.
In two things. One, how do you show up? Do you show up in a corporate interview in jeans? Unless it's a tech startup. And even then, I don't think that's what should happen. Secondly, you have shown up, you're looking good. Then what comes out of your mouth? Communication. I'm appalled that a lot of Kenyans don't even know that there's a club called Toastmasters where you go and learn leadership and public speaking. So these are things that I help my clients do, and even more how they appear. Like right now, there is the online craze. Everyone is online. Everyone is on social channels. Your perception there matters too. What do we see? Do we see pictures of you 7 years old without shoes? It's not relevant to what you're doing. It's good once in a while, but what you have on your social channels, is it relevant to who you are, or in the least who you want to be? So these are some of the things I do with my clients.
So what sort of skill set do you have to have as Mengo to do the job that you do? Like, because you mentioned your background is in aeronautical engineering, right? So to become a brand manager, to become that person who helps you, show up looking right, speaking the right way, presenting yourself the right way, how do I acquire that skill set? What do I need? Do I have to go to school for it? What happens there?
Well, depends on how you want to look at it, but this is the way I look at it. School is good, but skill is everything. Okay, so you have to have that interest first of all in helping people become better versions of themselves. This is a lot of personal development. You have to be that passionate to help people get to the next stage of their life. Now, if for you school is what it means to be able to do that, by God, go to school. There is schools that teach branding, but I have not had a school that teaches personal branding. But really the principles are the same, only that the application might be different. But now it's actually skill. First of all, go work with a professional, learn what they do, then maybe you might just shorten your time or your learning curve. My learning curve was really long. I have gobbled books. I have mentors I've never met because I have looked at their content, I follow their material, and much of what I do actually is self-taught. But mine comes very deep from the heart. So you could either go to school, you could decide to get a mentor to learn from, you could decide to read and learn for yourself, but the best teacher is the market.
Right. You mentioned the kind of person that you usually work with or you usually target. You mentioned the politician in there, you mentioned a business leader. My question is, how do you source for this clientele? How do you get the people who you work with?
Thank you. That's a very good question, and it's important because the way I'll answer it might just help someone else out there struggling to meet their ideal client. Well, myself, most of my clients actually, I get them on LinkedIn. On LinkedIn, I have positioned myself properly to be able to meet the right people. Right. When you talk of branding, there is a way you brand yourself that helps you to actually push away the people you don't need and attract the people you need. So you have to have that choice of platform. I talked of LinkedIn because online is where people are. That is where you would meet a client from South Africa. You would not meet them in Nairobi because if they don't come to Nairobi, you don't meet them. So let me just address online platforms. Have a platform of choice. My platform of choice is LinkedIn because professionals are there. Sense. Yes, professionals are there. Business leaders are there. Of course, politicians are on Twitter, but I don't like to meet them on Twitter. I'd rather meet them in person. So that is where I source my leads. So I get there are those I approach, there are those who approach me. Sometimes I have to really look at someone, try to make out what they are trying to achieve, then approach them and say, hey, I see what you're trying to do. I can help you do it better. Yeah, so that is my platform of choice.
I like that. So in your line of work, which is different from what a lot of people do, but what are some of the challenges someone can encounter in your line of work?
Well, one of them is eating your own cooking. You best eat your own cooking.
You have to show up looking at what you're selling.
Yes, well put. Secondly, personal branding is not a very, it's not a very, that's a good one. Well, it's not the most common of things you will hear. It's not the most common of conversations you will hear every day. So there is the issue of educating and selling at the same time. You have to teach people before you sell to them. It doesn't matter if it's a one-on-one or it's a seminar. People need that education. They need to understand what value it brings. Most of, I would say for a market like Africa, people want to see something like this glass of water and you say it's 100 shillings. Yes, they'll give you 100, give them a glass of water. But now what I'm selling is an intangible. I'm selling you a story. Exactly. I'm trying to paint a picture in your head of what you can be in future, and I'm asking you to pay me for it. I had a client one day ask me, I'll say it in Swahili just the way he asked, sasa kijana, nani alikufunza kuuza hewa? you know, and it almost threw me off balance.
Translate for our non-Swahili
Yes,
speaking audience.
what he asked was, so my friend, who taught you how to sell air? Because really, I was not selling any tangible, you know. So I looked for a defense for a few seconds, but I said, well, lucky for me, he was a journalist. I say, you sell air too, because you doing what you do, we actually call it being on air. So who is selling air here? You know. So, but well, that is how the market perceives this kind of business and consultancy at large. So that is actually one of the reasons that consultants need to brand themselves. And you coming out actually ends up almost quantifying the product you're selling. Because you know what? People buy you before they even buy what you're selling. So that is how important your personal brand is. Yes.
Mengo, you mentioned that you're an aeronautic engineer, and now you're into this business of working with people. And the reason you're doing this is because you are better with people than you are with things.
Yes.
My question is, for that entrepreneur or that aspiring entrepreneur, someone who maybe went to school for something totally different and now would like to also try their hand out at something totally different, but they don't know how to go about it. You know, a lot of times people will tell you, stick to what you know, whatever you get into, you know, it has to be along what you know. What would be your advice to someone like that?
I'd start here. What is it that you love doing? Because when everything falls out, you're left with what you love. So it starts there.
With your passion.
Yes, it's that which burns in you, that which you could do for free. Let me put it that way. I would, I do. I have done a lot of pro bono. Of course, I don't encourage people to do that with me, but well, it is. I would do it for free. That's what I mean. Like right now, I'm giving value. The person that will watch this interview will get value. I have done it for free. That is how I look at it. So first of all, your passion. What is it you love doing? Secondly, don't look at 4 years you spent in school. Actually, in the cosmos of time, they are nothing. So go back there, just take it as an experience. This is something you will need. You will need what you learned in school, one way or the other, or at one time. You will need it. But look at, do I want to do this for the longest time in my life? So choose it, do it. Then secondly, learn. Decide to learn. Be intentional about learning. Just learn about it. Look for the best in your area or in the area you're interested in. Learn from them. Some of them could not be in your locality, but they have websites, they have blogs, they have videos. I mean, Yego learned from YouTube and he's an Olympian. So choose the best, learn from them, then get to work. It will just work out with time.
Finally, before we go, where do you want to see your business, Mengo Concepts, 5 years from now? What's the dream?
5 years from now, I should be branding presidency.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yes.
That's it.
Just that.
Thank you very much. I wish you all the best. 5 years from now, I'll call you up and I'll say, hey, Mengo, branding president, what are you doing? Can you sit on my couch? I wish you all the best and you're doing amazing things. We'll now take a very quick break, but don't go anywhere because we'll be back with so much more on Entrepreneurs Lounge.